Hello, and welcome to a quick Onshape tutorial. We're going to talk about geometric constraints in this tutorial. But first, I want to give you a quick run through to some basic Onshape things. Okay, first, when you start Onshape and you open a new file, okay, you start here, you're given the 3 planes. I'm going to quick sketch some things. Okay, when you sketch an Onshape, the first thing you need to do is select the plane. Okay, lots of times you'll see when you use a tool some instructions right up here. So I'll just pick the front. And the biggest difference between Onshape and Fusion 360 and most other 3D modeling and CAD environments is that when I select a plane, notice it didn't rotate to square up to that plane. Okay, I actually have to manually go over and select, in this case, front view to rotate. Get a nice sketching view here. You'll notice I'm in the sketch because the sketch is highlighted on the left, and also there's a little box here that says sketch 1. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to sketch something very easy. Let's go center rectangle, click. All right, I click down, I immediately can start editing my distances. So there's one on the bottom, let's make that a 2. I'm going to hit tab on my keyboard. All right, well, I didn't tab over, so I'll hit enter. And now enter will get me over to the other square. I'll make that a 2 by 3. Hit enter, and there we go, 2 by 3 square. Let's hit the check mark to be done with our sketch. Again, you notice it didn't rotate out. I'm going to go up here and click that to rotate out. All these options, okay, I can use. Hover over them, and the little, okay, I guess the name shows up with some directions and the definition, which is cool. I'm just going to extrude this shape, and automatically goes to, let's see, 1 inch. Let's make that 2 inches just for fun. Right, and I don't want that to be blind, symmetric. Let's just go blind. But I want to add space, I believe. No, new. Okay, because this is a new body. And we will add space in the future. Right, so check. Okay, I'm going to add, just like I said, a sketch on a new face. If I sketch on the top of that, again, the sketch is open. It might seem like nothing happened, but the sketch is open. Let me rotate to the top so I get a better view. I'm just going to make a circle on here. There's the center point. Come over, there we go. That's right in the center. Click, let's make that 1 inch in diameter. And there we go, there's diameter symbol, awesome. Finish my sketch. Again, it didn't rotate, so I'm going to rotate, get a better view. Not the original view I started with, but good enough. And let's extrude that. All right, one thing I want you to notice, if I extrude, notice that it says add here. Okay, that's adding to part 1. All right, if I hit new, okay, notice it's going to make a new part 2. Unless you're doing things that requires multiple parts, okay, different things that attach, for example, keep it all in the same part. That makes technical drawings and printouts better as well. So check. All right, and then the last thing I want to show you, I'll just make a sketch on this face, square it up, and I don't know, let's mess around with this polygon tool. Let's get the center again. There's the center. Come down here, sketch. Ooh, I can pick how many faces it is. Let's go 5. Okay, pretty cool. Check. Rotate. And I'm going to extrude that. Extrude that shape. Okay, and I want to remove that out of there, and I want to make the depth. Blind just means to a certain depth. Let's go through the whole thing. There we go. Hit check. All right, and I have a part. All right, so that's just some basic Onshape stuff. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and delete that part. I can't actually see that based on where this. I'm just gonna hit delete and delete it all. Okay, let's go back to our home view. There it is. Okay, so now we'll talk geometric constraints. What I'm going to do is draw several shapes, okay, that you should follow along with, and show you kind of how to constrain things geometrically. All right. The first one I'm going to do is use a perpendicular constraint. So we put it there, and then I will just make a new line and draw some line like this. Okay, distances don't matter. We have at our disposal a bunch of what's known as geometric constraints up in this bar. Okay? And geometric constraints constrain geometry. They constrain shapes without using numbers at all. For example, let's go find the perpendicular constraint. I think it's right there. The perpendicular constraint makes two lines perpendicular to each other, or 90 degrees. So if I click that and then click both lines, notice that pops to 90 degrees, which is great. Okay, and if I click show all constraints here, there you'll see that a perpendicular constraint exists between those two lines. Okay, there's some other constraints. We'll talk about what those might mean in a second. All right, that's actually coincident. There's the perpendicular constraint. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to draw something else here. I'm going to draw three lines, kind of all go in different ways. I'm hitting escape button every time I draw a line just so that I can get a new line. Okay, we have a parallel constraint. In a parallel constraint, we'll just pop two lines parallel to each other. Notice the constraint jumps up. I do it again, pop some parallel. There we go. So parallel constraint just makes things parallel to each other. All right, I'm going to teach you a couple tools with these three circles. The first one is the dimension tool is right there. If I dimension, all right, I can pick how big I want some of these to be. I want that to be 2 inches. Notice everything moved. That's interesting. Let's say I want this one to be 1 inch and this one to be, I don't know, 1.25 inches. Okay. And now the first tool I want is the fix tool. And that's just going to keep something in place. Right now, I'm going to escape off of that tool. Right now, if I wanted to slide this circle around, I can. But if I wanted it fixed in place, I use this fix tool and just click my circle. And now, notice how it changed color. I can't actually pull that anywhere. All right, it's stuck to that point in our little 3D modeling world. Okay, and then I'm going to use the tangent constraint. The tangent constraint is puts the circles together so that they only touch at exactly one point. All right, tangent. They're tangent to each other. Because the blue circle moved because I fixed down the big circle. So let's use tangent constraint again. All right, there we go. All right, next one. We have a tangent constraint, or we're going to use the tangent constraint again. We have two lines here, and we can actually not just make a circle tangent to another circle, we can actually make a circle or a curve tangent to a line. Like so. Okay, now it's tangent to both lines. All right, for this next constraint, you notice I fixed down the circle, so the circle is not going to move. Okay, I'm going to use the coincident constraint. Coincident, you should probably say that if you've never actually said that word before. Coincident. Okay, that's this right here. If I hover, there it is. It's coincident. Okay, what that does is it connects 2 points. Right, so if I click this point, I click that point, pops them together. If I click this point and I click that point, it connects them. Okay, this is really good if you have a shape that you've drawn with a ton of sides and you accidentally make 2 sides but don't actually make a shape but don't actually close the shape so it won't extrude, and you just need a quick fix. You go to coincident, click one, then click the other, and it pops them together. Okay, and you have a closed shape. All right, coincident constraint. This next constraint is called concentric circles. Concentric. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and fix down one of my circles. Keep it in place. Notice the fix constraint little tool pops up there, letting me know that happened. Okay, so when I can use the concentric constraint on circles, all it does is it makes them all have the same center. Okay. So it's just popping those circles right onto my fixed circle. Notice it has 3 circles there now. Okay. Moving on. Okay, let's look at this next one. It's going to be the horizontal constraint. This middle line here is already horizontal. You can see the horizontal constraint there. Say I want to make the other 2 horizontal as well. You guys have to go find the horizontal constraint and click them, and it pops those lines horizontal. As you might guess, the vertical constraint line does the same thing. It makes lines vertical. Pretty straightforward. All right, one of my favorite tools is the equal tool. The equal tool. And that makes things equal, like you might guess. So if I wanted to make this triangle an equilateral triangle, all the sides the same length, click my equals tool, then click one side and another side to make them equal to each other. And then I just have to do it one more time. Okay, and it makes them equal. I have an equilateral triangle. Now if I say I wanted to actually, the size has changed a little bit, so say I wanted to dimension that side, I can do that. Let's make that 2 inches. And because all my sides are constrained to be the same length, if I change the length of one, the other 2 have to update because they both have to be equal. They're constrained to each other. Pretty cool. All right, and that equals constraint, the same thing that works for all of our tools here. So if I want them to be equal to each other, okay, so what I might do is say I want them to both be the size of the small circle. I might dimension the small circle to 2 inches. Okay, then use the equal constraint and say, hey, I want these 2 things to be the same. All right. And because this one's already locked in at 2, the other one has to update to 2 as well. All right, the next tool we're going to use is pretty cool. We've actually already used them. It's the horizontal and vertical. There's actually another cool aspect to the horizontal tool and the vertical tool. So if I have 3 shapes that I want to put all in the same horizontal line, okay, all I have to do is just click those centers with the horizontal tool selected. And it pops them all on, the centers are all on the same horizontal line. All right. Now I can't move them. If I move them up and down, they go with each other, but mostly the motion is left and right because they're all going to stay on that same horizontal plane. And as you might suspect, that also works for the vertical tool. Okay. There you go. It's kind of hard to tell, but they're all there. I should be able to drag them apart from each other. There you go. All right. Those are just a few geometric constraints I think you'll find useful as you're 3D modeling. I certainly use them all the time. They're a lot quicker than trying to line stuff up with my mouse or than putting in all the correct numbers. Okay, so hopefully you use those to your advantage in the future.